welcome back to the NESGameMaker. So last time we put together the enemy Bit, but this time we will put together his brother Bot, the more dangerous of the two. And if we have time after that, we'll put together some moblins or something else. We'll see what happens. So let's get cracking. So if we come back into our objects here, we have our enemies section. To get us started here, take you. We can actually just duplicate this. Change the name up a little bit. And now we got Bot. Almost. We have to add in some different states and change some things around, but they're effectively the same guy for the most part. So come over here, Bot. We have idle and our move, just like this guy, but we also have a jump sprite that'll be involved with the Bot character, because Bot likes to jump around randomly, and that makes him arguably as I said last time, the most dangerous enemy in the game. So let's see here. I need to pull open the code on my side. I got all sorts of things going on. Objects, effects. No, we want enemies. Enemy Bot. Bring you in. And let me expand the code a bit. All right, good to go. Expand the code a little bit over here as well. So we have our create event, our step event, draw event, idle state, the move state, and we also have the dead state, but we also have the jump state. State other user event 3. So we're going to move the dead state to user event 3 and rename you the jump state. All right. So one of the big things that's definitely going to change is we need to come into here, change our state name, our enemy's enum state to Bot from Bit. And of course, equals 3, and you become jump. All right. Animation 0, -1, D at 4, D right, idle, false, floor, -1, -1, floor 12, false, 0, sec times 1 for the switch state, palette index Bot, make sure we update that. And also we're going to add another timer here, and we're going to call it jump timer, and also a direction to player variable, so the Bot can know which direction to jump. Now as far as it goes with that Bot, as far as I could tell, his jumping is completely at random. He just jumps whenever, but he always jumps towards the player. So wherever the player is, he'll jump towards the player. Stats 2, HP 4, and to give you a more realistic XP number 2. We'll use the 99999 here later on when we test leveling up link. Movement variables should all be the same. And make sure that the jumping is right. 0.05, 0.01, 0.0125. Apparently his jumps need to feel floaty, so you give him a lower gravity versus a normal Bit. Jump speed should actually be -2. We didn't really bother with it changing it here because bit doesn't actually jump, so it doesn't really matter what that number is. But in this case, we want it to be -2 because that's how high he's going to jump. 0 to 4, 1.5, 4, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Okay, and on the ground, all that stuff is still the same. So let's update our sprite tables. Idle, move, and we're going to change these from bit to bot. And I'm going to just copy it all because it's much easier for me to do it that way. But for you, just change these from bit to bot, and add in a additional state. And looks like I forgot to update these labels here. So that should be idle, move, and you should be jump. There we go. And so on and so forth. Going into our step event. Step event, everything is the same, etc., etc. Yeah, everything is exactly the same, except we also need to count down the jump underscore timer underscore minus. So this is jump timer is being reset whenever you do a jump, and basically it's always counting down from that point, and that's just how it works. It's just always counting down, and whenever it gets under 0 or reaches 0, then it you do a jump and you set it back up. I mean, all this stuff is just basically fluff. You can probably do the same thing with these things too, for the most part. The whole approaching -1 is just because I said I wanted to stop the timer at -1, but there's nothing that says that we can't just have the timer going forever. I don't know how performance intensive that would be, but I don't really think it's actually really that important. You could probably just have the timer go forever. The only problem would, of course, be if you had an overflow happen. But then since everything in GameMaker uses a double or float 64, depending on how you want to call it, that would take longer than you have to live for that to happen. So I don't think anybody's going to be running the game that long just to cause a stupid overflow error. Unless I'm wildly mistaken and somehow in the future causing a infinite overflow error with something that becomes a holy grail for programmers or something. I don't know. I can't even imagine how that would work. But, you know, all sorts of weird things going on. Anyways, let's see. So we have view draw event. Let's go into the draw event real quick since we're here. We don't change anything, I believe. Yeah, it looks, it's all exactly the same. Yep, nothing changed. Coming to our idle state, just to check on this. The move state, oh, we need to make sure that we update this from bit to bot once again. State switch timer, iRandom times 12. Walk speed, again, it's basically the same because he does the same movements as bit when he's not jumping. And same. Yep, it's all the same there. Move state. Let's see, we have the round state timer, idle, sec times 1, etc., etc., acceleration, no particular acceleration. The animation end, we move, so every couple frames, whenever he ends his animation, we move. Applied X speed is equal to 0. Apply gravity, no particular acceleration as we move. Okay, but apply gravity if not on ground. That's where I was at. Speed fractions, we can ignore that. Collision and movement, ignore that. It's all the same, and so is animation. So everything's exactly the same. Jump state, now that's new. So I'm going to copy in the jump state here. You'll probably recognize most of this code here. So let's go over to speed fractions, the same. Collision and movement, the same as everything else. Animation, the same as everything else. Image speed is equal to 1, or animation underscore speed, whatever you want to have it set up for. So we'll ignore these bits for the moment, since there's no changes with them. But we actually do have some stuff going on. It's an acceleration. When we're jumping, we want, let's see, current X speed is equal to 1 times direction to player. That's about the same as the move state, isn't it? Okay, so when we are jumping, we move at 1 pixel per frame towards the player, and the direction towards the player is determined when we start a jump. And I'll be back over in the step event. We'll get to that. And you apply gravity as normal. And we don't do an on-ground check because since you are in the jump state, we are presuming you are definitely not on the ground, so you don't need to bother with that kind of rigmarole. So acceleration, no particular acceleration. We move at 1 speed. Yeah, so yeah, basically this, I could get rid of the whole current speed and just do applied X speed directly because there is no actual buildup of acceleration. He's just moving. So what do we have here? So once we are back onto the ground, so we want to go back to the idle state when the jump finishes, right? So once we are on the ground again, then kill all of our momentum because we don't want to be moving. And a 50% chance that we will go into the idle state, or a 50% chance that we will go into the move state. And if we go into the idle state, we just set the state switch timer as 60 frames, same as normal idle state stuff. And if we go into the move state, same as the regular move state. It's exactly the same as going from the idle state into the move state. So nothing really interesting going on there. Too much. The only thing that hasn't happened yet is how do we even get into that jump state in the first place? That's kind of an important thing to know about, right? Let's see here. So we need a jump state. The jump state can be entered from any state in the, so when he's idling, he can suddenly jump. When he's moving, he can suddenly jump. He doesn't really care. He can jump at any time. So we put this into the step event because it's an interrupting state that can pretty much interrupt any state to achieve it. So regardless of state, jump once the timer reaches 0. If jump timer is less than or equal to 0 and on ground. So basically, we can't jump if we've fallen over the cliff. We definitely don't want that to happen. We only want to jump when the jump timer is less than or equal to 0. And if the state is not dead, because we don't want the bot to, if he's dead, we don't want him to be doing anything because, well, when he's dead. And we can actually set up the dead state really easily. It's one line of code. Instance destroy. So come back over here to your dead state and update that real quick since we're thinking about it. And do the same thing for your bit as well because, well, I said so, right? Or let me go actually check him because you never know. There could always be something. Nope, his code is exactly the same. I don't want to do it and then all of a sudden, oh, whoops, I was completely wrong. Anyways, so if instance exists, object link side scrolling. So we need to make sure that link exists before we try to obtain a direction to the player because Link could have been killed, and I believe there's like a couple seconds of just animation frames for his death. And when that happens, well, he won't exist anymore. But bot will still be moving around during that time period of Link's death animation, so he could try to do a jump in the middle of Link's death animation, and that would cause the game to crash. So in order to prevent that, just basically anytime you try to reference another object, make sure that that object exists, or that you know in the code that that object will always exist at this time when you try to access it. Otherwise, you're going to have a bad time. So, Anyways, direction to player is equal to sine 2 object link side scrolling dot x minus my x. So find my x position and Link's x position and set me to jump towards him. Otherwise, always have me jump to the right if for some reason he's directly on top of me. Current y speed is equal to jump speed. So this is basically the same as going into the jump state in Link. So we're not going to have too much difficulty here. On ground is false. Jump timer is equal to irandom sec times 12. Got to set that back up. And go into the jump state at that point. So, yep, there we go. That is bot. He is done, I believe. So there's nothing else to do. Let's go and add him into the game and check out his action. So there he is. Let me move my headphones here and grab my controller. There he goes. Just sort of dancing around. And he jumps. There he goes. And take damage, of course. Yeah. I'll have to fix that little thing with him not aiming the right direction when he takes damage from the on the left side. But you know, kind of a minor bug, and you can have fun doing that. Hey, there you go. See, Link can die, and his character object can disappear, but because we've properly sanitized our code, even with Link being gone, it doesn't matter. The game still runs perfectly fine. And that's a very big important thing you need to learn as you are building objects, is just how to sanitize your objects so that if for some reason they suddenly disappear, it's not going to affect other things if you can avoid it. And the GUI disappearing is intentional as well, because when Link disappears, you actually go to the death screen where it will do a little death flash thingy and show Ganon laughing and returning and all that fun stuff. And you aren't supposed to have the GUI visible during that time period either. So, yeah. Anyways, let's see. What's our time at? We are currently at 17 minutes and 34 seconds, so we have a little bit more time. Let's see what we can do about damage check. Maybe we can give these guys a little bit of damage. So damage will be checked from sources for the most part. Excuse me. Which should be just the sword beam for our purposes. This cuts down the amount of wasted resources for each frame. So basically what I'm saying here is that rather than having the bit or bot or any of the enemies actually checking to see if they are going to take damage that frame, instead the thing that checks for damage is the thing that actually does the damage on that frame. So damage check is done by the knife on the frame when it creates the hitbox, rather than bit and bot always checking to see, oh, is there a knife in me at this point? Should I be taking damage? Right? I hope that makes sense, because that's how you do it to order to reduce the amount of resources you're consuming again. Because you got to figure out, you got to reverse your ideas of how you detect things. So they're not always checking for damage. The thing that does damage is the one that checks to see if it should be doing damage. And then it applies the damage if that happens. But if that happens, Control-Shift-K, come here. So if they've been given iframes, so basically what's going to happen is that when we damage our enemy here, we will give it iframes, and that will tell our enemy that it is damaged. And it, well, when we do the damage, the damager will calculate how much damage is supposed to have been done to the enemy, subtract the HP and all that fun stuff as well. So that's all good and useful. But if we survived, then let's turn on our iframes timer. And if round iframes timer equals 0, then iframes is equal to false. So Yeah, again, I haven't really set up the rounding system in any sort of fashion. I just was kind of randomly throwing it in there. It just kind of reminds me that I need to make it, I need to formalize this kind of thing in the future to make HTML5 approaches work better. Not even just HTML5, just in general, because, you know, there could always be a point where for some reason there's a rounding error. But you know, you could probably fix that by just changing the math delta. No, not delta time. I'm looking for I don't know. Math underscore get epsilon. That's it. That's basically just tells your system, okay, at this point, round it off. So if you have 0.999999, just round it off as 1. And you could change how many decimal places before it does that rounding. So anyways, let's see. Damage flash timer is equal to approach damage flash timer to -1 by 1. Again, damage flash timer is shorter than the iframe timer, right? Let's make sure about that, right? Damage flash timer is longer than the iframe timer. Dang it. Well, I never said I'm perfect. But yeah, you get the idea here. What's trying to happen? We want to cause our enemy to... okay, yeah, actually, it doesn't really matter in this case because the bits and bots don't get additional iframes after their damage flash. They basically take the damage, and as soon as their damage flash ends, they can be damaged again at that point. So, anyways. Yeah, that should be good. Let's come over here to you. Since we set this up over here, we are going to also uncancel the code over here as well. And let's come over here to our link object. And let's go over to your slash state. We're going to do this in the ducking slash state because you have to be in the ducking slash state in order to attack them in the first place, because otherwise it just doesn't really do much. You can't hit them because they're too low to the ground if you aren't ducking. So let's see. We go into here. We do a bunch of stuff. Currently, we take our current deck. I just want to make sure that everything is good so that I can actually do the attack damage bit. I don't want to try to do it and cause a crash here. So current HP. If your current HP is equal to your maximum HP, then create a sword beam. I have the object, create, and step. Generate a hitbox. We can probably do this, uncomment this. So attempt to damage all enemies in the list by triggering their damage state, etc. Yeah, that should be good. So, oh, wait, we have the take damage script. I haven't done that yet, have I? No, I haven't. So with ints take damage. So let's come over here to you. Yeah, so take damage. That's what we need to fix up here to be able to get this to work properly. So let's come over here to you. Let's Control-Shift-K that on you, and also Control-Shift-K it on you as well. So how are we going to take damage? So what we're doing here is with link side scrolling and with the sword beam, is the sword beam every single frame is checking to see if there's any enemies inside of its area and then applying damage if there are. And there's actually some stuff that you can do with... I can't remember if the sword beam lasts forever, or if there's like a certain amount of damage it'll do before it finally says, oh, I've done too much damage. No, I think it lasts forever unless it hits an enemy that tells it to die. So it doesn't have like a limit to the amount of enemies that you can hit, though. So you can hit 50 bots with the same sword beam if you want. Okay, so basically what I'm trying to say here, though, is that the sword hitbox and the beam hitbox. The sword hitbox only generates during the frames where the sword is visible. Will get a list of all the enemies in that area and then try to apply the take damage script, which I have included in every single enemy. And this is kind of something that you could probably like put into the parent enemy instead of having it here in every single enemy. You could just put these things in the parent enemy instead. That'd probably be more useful than the way I have it currently set up. But like I said, not perfect, and there's always something else you can do. So if HP is less than or equal to 0, exit. So basically it's saying if your HP has reached 0, well, it's not really going to matter because, well, okay, by the way, yeah, just to make sure you know about it, the HP is affected right here, I believe, somewhere. So take damage, and oh yeah, so if HP is less than or equal to 0, so you can't try to damage something that's already dead, basically. That's what I'm saying here. HP underscore minus equal damage. So the damage was that little formula we passed in. Iframes is equal to true. Iframe underscore timer, length. Damage flash timer is equal to length. Not the same as iframes, as the flashing lasts approximately 2 times longer than the iframes. And like I said, I need to fix, oh wait, damage, oh wait, I have that here too. So I was probably actually double counting. I could probably just kill that from there, and that should fix the little. Oh wait! Oh! The entire reason why I had that there is because when they take damage, they freeze. They no longer process their state. If he was jumping and you give him damage in midair, if you hit bot in midair, he freezes in midair. If you hit bit while he's moving around, he freezes in that position until the iframes are over. Then state execution continues as normal, and the damage flash timer finishes up then. Yay! So yes, so I did have that all correct. I wasn't, I just psyched myself out there. So anyways, if HP is less than or equal to 0 after taking damage, then we need to go into the bit states.dead, and as mentioned here, the instance is destroyed once I regain control, though, and that is, of course, after the iframes are over. State is equal to bit state.dead, var underscore instance equals instance create layer xy effects. So we have this effects layer, right, in our room, if you remember to make it. And we're going to make an object item dropping death explosion. And the item dropping system I came up with was needlessly complex and very stupid, but, you know, it worked. Underscore inst.experience is equal to experience given. So, oh, okay, yeah. So, basically what I was saying here is when you die, there's every 6 enemies you kill, you get an item, but all the other ones you get experience. So basically I'm telling it, okay, here, tell the item drop thingy that the player is supposed to get X amount of experience, and that number being the amount of experience given right there. And let's create this real quick as a dummy object so that we don't crash the game. Come over here, we're going to create a new group. Fix. And create an object. WD underscore item underscore dropping underscore death underscore explosion. And that should let us kill the enemies, hopefully. Let's see how well it works. There we go. See, he's taking damage. And he dies. Unless he did it. Why aren't you dying? Because you are trying to go into bit states. Let's give them bot states. Alright, that should fix it. Alright, I think that's everything for this episode. Thank you everybody for joining me, and I hope you all enjoy all this stuff you've learned. And let's let past me take it away with some Patreon names. I'd like to thank my legacy Patreon supporters for their support during the NES Game Maker postseason hiatus. James Burton, JD Lowe, Suli, and Bezia. I'd of course also like to thank my current NES Game Maker Patreons for their support during the current NES Game Maker season. Kenneth Klein, Vladimir, Jamal, Fernando, Sergez, and Daniel. Your support helps make the NES Game Maker happen and helps support future projects from me. So until next time, remember to have good luck with your coding.